Yo, what's up, you guys? It's your girl, Trudy LPC, and thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Self-Awareness Podcast. I have a really, really unique and dope guest with me today. I am really, really grateful that she took some time out of her day, even though she's out there saving the world, seeing clients and doing her thing. But her name is Angelika Johnson. She is a licensed professional counselor in Georgia. She's also a PhD candidate who is working on learning more about working with military families and military culture. And she is also the founder of a nonprofit organization known as Women Who Are Heroes, as well as U.S. Army veterans. So without further ado, please welcome to the Self-Awareness Podcast, Miss Angelika Johnson. Hey girl, how are you doing, AJ?
Hey, I'm great, Tree. How are you?
I am doing well. So excited to be able to chat with you today and really learn a little bit more about your story. I'm always intrigued about working with veterans and talking to veterans. I work for the VA full time. And so it's definitely kind of, always good to be able to talk to you guys in a non-clinical setting. So I definitely appreciate you taking some time out of your day to chat with me. So I guess we can go ahead and get started by just having you tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so yes, I am a veteran. I spent 6 years in the military, in the Army, to be exact. I was a combat medic. Funny. Because I did not see myself doing that, but whatever. But I spent 6 years. I would have spent a little longer, but I was a mother and I wanted to take time to spend with my children. My husband was also active duty, so it just wasn't working.
Gotcha.
And so, now I currently am a licensed professional counselor, as Tree has mentioned earlier, in the state of Georgia. I've worked in multiple capacities. I worked with active duty, inpatient facility, intensive outpatient programs, outpatient facility, and now I'm kind of sort of like in a group practice.
Okay.
And so I find that interesting too. It's different. I had to kind of work my way out of the military mentality and work my way back into the civilian sector because it's very different.
Gotcha.
But I enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
I am currently in school to get my PhD in human and social services.
Okay.
And my specialization is military and family cultures, which I'm stuck to it. I'm bound to it. Military is my thing.
Okay.
So I just kind of want to stick with that. And so with my nonprofit, which I'll just talk about more on the back end of this session, I'm just wanting to do things for female veterans because, I am one. And I have had the pleasure of maintaining friendships from the military. So this is very dear to my heart. And once I get done with this PhD, it's on and popping.
Okay. Well, I am here for it. Definitely look forward to hearing a little bit more about what your nonprofit does, because I think it's so important to have resources. And I love, just other veterans being able to give back, and hopefully you use whatever resources out there that they allot for you guys to be able to make sure you capitalize on that. For those that are listening that don't know, there are a lot of earmarked funds for that the government contractors are obligated to kind of hire so many or use so many services from veterans and stuff like that. And there are a lot of different things that you guys can get connected to. So hopefully, anybody that is interested in that, they reach out and kind of get a little bit more information around that. But I really would like to kind of, since your specialization is going to be on really trying to give back to women in the military, I kind of want to know a little bit about your story of being a female in the military and what that experience was like for you.
Oh, well, initially I did not want to go.
Okay.
I was in college. I had a full basketball scholarship to a junior college, which is okay. Went for 2 or 3 months and got forced to go to summer school, which I was upset about because I had a 3.2 GPA. I'm like, why am I in summer school? So being the young tender age of 18, I had life all figured out. I said, I am leaving. So I quit college.
Wow.
And ended up going back home. And my mother said, hey, it's either job or get out. I was like, oh my God. So I said, okay, I'm gonna call the recruiter. So my mom is prior military, my dad's retired.
Okay.
So I have a lineage of military family members. It's all over. I'm surrounded by it. But anyway, so started training up. I said, okay, had to do PT and what do you call it? Trash bag so I can get slimmer. Yeah. And so I did that, and I had to join the military. So I did. Well, I didn't have to, but I didn't want to stay at home. I'm from a very small town. Everybody worked at plants. I didn't want to do that. I was like, yeah, no, I did not want to be. I'm from a small place in West Alabama, Listman, Alabama.
Listman. Okay.
You ever heard of Georgia Pacific?
I have heard of Georgia Pacific. I'm from LaGrange, so I'm more so familiar with like the Chambers County, Alabama area, like with like Lynette Valley, that area.
Yeah, I'm going toward like Tuscaloosa.
Oh, okay.
Around in that area. Yep. So I did not want to work at the plant. Didn't want to be a nurse. I was like, yeah, no, I got to leave. So I joined the military. Basic training was wonderful. Went to AIT, wonderful. I was a medic, like I said. And then active duty, once I got to active duty, it was in 1999. And I was in a world of like, wow, because I came from a small town to the military where I meet different people from everywhere. And so that was fun. But however, being in the military as a lady has its challenges. I know now they're trying to make policies and stuff, gauged around height and weight with females, which was very difficult when I was in. You had to be a certain weight because you're this tall or whatever. And to me, and I've talked to several other veterans about this before, that mentality and that behavior kind of sort of developed body dysmorphia in a lot of women. I mean, I've done research on it too. It's definitely research on it. And so that was a challenge. The culture of drinking and smoking is heavy in the military. I mean, you party, you're away from home. It's like, okay, I can do what I want to do. Nobody telling me what to do. So I was 19 then at the time, engaged in a lot of underage drinking. Because I'm gonna back up just a little bit. Before I joined the military, I was drinking anyway. But then when I joined, I had to stop because I couldn't drink. And then once I got to my permanent duty station, I started back. So I was 19, drinking, endlessly, heavily, which was a lot. But we had to uphold different standards. We had to do this way, we had to do this that way, even down to the uniform. They didn't have lady uniforms. We had to wear men uniforms. We had to wear men boots.
Wow.
We had to have our hair a certain way, nails. So being a woman in the military, I'm gonna say the Army, because that's what I served. I can't really compare the others. Although I know other women in the other branches, it wasn't my experience. But definitely a challenge. Fighting for positions, get promotions. It's kind of sort of like in the corporate world. Same thing.
Yeah.
But it was a journey. It was interesting. It built character. I can say that much.
Well, clearly it built some character because you definitely out here pushing and thugging it out so you can get to a place so you can give back and help others, especially, those female veterans. But I mean, I hear a lot about the female experience in the military from working at the crisis line and kind of, working with a lot of the responders there. And so it is, a different kind of experience that I hear from female veterans. And I remember taking a lot of calls over the years, from females that are experiencing a lot of things and then coming back with a lot of trauma around things like MST and things of that nature. And so it definitely is something that, we do a lot of training on. And So I'm glad that you made it out, and hopefully, if there's any stuff you were exposed to, hopefully, get whatever services for that, those sort of things. But, I think that, the alcohol piece of your journey, you said that you started kind of drinking before you even got into the military, what was that about?
I don't know. Some of it may have to do with my parents divorcing it when I was a young age, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm a drink. I was sexually assaulted at 15. Didn't know how to talk to my parents. I honestly just told my mother, I think I was 32.
Wow.
I finally told, and my father still doesn't know.
Yeah.
And I did that to protect them. And I know you probably heard that before too. I mean, I hear it every day with my clients. I didn't say because I wanted to protect, my parents or whomever. But yeah, so I guess that was my way of coping with it at the time, was to drown it out and try to push it back and do all this other stuff. So yeah, and then it just went on in the military, led to some not so good moments of being promiscuous. It was just terrible. Drinking. That's all I did from sun up, during work, after work, wake up from Sunday to Sunday.
Wow.
So that was bad, but I never had help for it though. However, at my young age now, I have decreased my drinking a whole lot. I actually don't drink as much. For the month of July, I said I was not going to drink at all, and I have not. I haven't had the urge or any cravings or anything. And it's not like it's an issue now. Then it was. Now it's not.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I think going from like it being an issue to being able to tailor, because not everybody is able to kind of do it without help. I know that I come from a family of alcoholics. I don't consider myself the one to be one because I don't go to meetings, but that's a whole different situation when it really comes to like that being a part of what we do to cope and how we escape from things.
Yeah.
And I definitely would do a lot of stuff, ended up in some legal trouble before because of drinking. And so I definitely, appreciate your vulnerability and definitely wanted to be vulnerable with my own experience of that, because people, they talk about stuff like getting in trouble. They talk about reckless driving, DUIs and all of that or whatever, but nobody really wants to own up to when they have had encounters like that or whatever. And it's a lot more common than you think when it comes to those type of experiences. But what helped you go from like, yes, it's a problem to I got it under control without that intervention? Because not everybody's able to do that.
I thought I had a eye-opening moment. I was 20. I'm sorry, still underage. One of my very dear friends to this day, we were dating friends at the time. And her sister had called because she was watching her daughter. I had my son at the time too. They're like 6 months apart, literally 6 months apart. It's crazy. But anyway, she called and said, hey, her boyfriend at the time, her sister's boyfriend at the time was hitting on her.
Wow.
And we had just got finished drinking about 3:00 that morning. It was like 6:00 when she called us. So we all get up and rush over. And our boyfriends at the time drug this guy out and beat him to a pulp. I'm talking about like beat him down. Well, we got back in our cars to leave and we got stopped by the police. Because someone called the police, I guess. And so we get back, they make us go all the way back to where we were at. I was like, oh my gosh. Thought I was fine. I had my son in the car. I thought I was fine. And the officer said, hey, have you been drinking? And I said, way earlier, I said, but I've been asleep. Well, he blew me. And I blew 2 point something. I was like done. Yeah, my tolerance was out the roof.
Wow.
So he told me, he said, either you can let this gentleman drive or we're going to take you to jail. Right then, I thought that would have been my eye-opening moment because I would have lost my son. I would have been kicked out of the military. I would have had nothing. But it wasn't.
Oh.
So I continued to drink. Actually, I think it may have gotten worse. But anyway, I got pregnant with my daughter, and I was like, you know what? I got to pull back and start, pulling back from this drinking. And I still drank. It just was not as much. And then I became a weekend drinker. I was like, oh, it's okay. I'm drinking on weekend. I can handle it. Still heavy, but it's still not as much.
Yes.
So as time went on, as I got older, started tapering off a little more. I was like, it has to be something better than to drink. Mm. And now today, I still have an occasional drink. My daughter calls it happy juice. I get happy sometimes, but it's not often. But I don't have the reason to drink now like I did then. I have peace. I'm at peace now. Gotcha. I think I was fighting an internal battle within myself, like I was saying earlier, to cover all that stuff up and muffle it. I didn't want to deal with it. And now that I've gotten older, I'm like, you know what? It's not worth all that. It's whatever. Yeah. And so that's how without, I didn't want the treatment. I know I could do it myself. I'm that type of person. If I want something, I'm going to go get it. And so I said, yeah, I can do this. I don't need the help. And I didn't. And here I am.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, I think there's definitely a difference between, when we talk about alcohol abuse or alcohol dependence, so it sounds like you were someone who was abusing it, but it wasn't dependent upon it or whatever, and a lot of people, for those that's listening, I mean, if you are struggling with alcohol addiction or dependence, then your story is going to be much different than AJ's story because if there is a dependence or an addiction, you do need that help. If it's just abuse, that's something that hopefully doesn't turn into a dependence, but you got to make sure that you're on top of it. And if you do need help with alcohol addiction, you make sure you seek out those resources. Like I know AA is definitely a good resource, but if it's more so something where you need detox because you're having withdrawal symptoms, there's so many risks around that. And if you're dealing with that and you're wanting to get clean from alcohol, then I would definitely recommend going to an actual facility so that they can put you on something like a Librium detox so that you're able to kind of come off of it safely, because it is one of those addictions that is very risky, and coming off of it without help, if you are like severely addicted and dependent upon it, that's not something I would recommend. So please don't try to do that yourself. So I just wanted to make sure I put that out there, because like when we're dealing with alcohol to self-medicate, it can easily turn into an addiction. And, not everyone has that strength and that willpower that you had. So it sounds like you realized that the alcohol piece was a big deal for you, like even back then when you were a lot younger. Some people don't realize it, like my dad, until, he's probably going to cuss me out when he listens to this, but like he, sometimes it's acknowledging that you have a problem that can help. But yeah, he ain't there yet. A lot of my family members are, but he's not there yet. So you mentioned, like with the alcohol addiction that you did make some choices around promiscuity and things of that nature, whatever. But like you also mentioned, I guess in the pre-show about like impulsive kind of behaviors. Like what was that history, or what was navigating that like for you?
I think it was all a combination of the same thing. Spending money, knowing I didn't have it. Yeah.
Sounds like me.
Yep. Just not thinking of the consequences, just doing, like, okay. Making poor choices in guys. I'm like, what am I doing? So I think it was all from me running away from something I didn't want to deal with. It all just kind of is tailored around that.
Yeah.
And so, to be exact, even when my parents divorced, I had a very active father. My parents, my mom sacrifice living where she didn't want to live so I can continue the relationship with my father. So I appreciate that for her wholeheartedly. You know, she has no idea. I think she knows, but a lot of people don't do that. And I was fortunate enough to have both my parents, even though they weren't together. So it wasn't that. I just think I was the only child, so I really didn't have. By myself, I'm like, okay, what do I do? I was so-called the preppy rich kid because my father was military and my mom worked at Georgia Pacific.
Okay.
So, right.
Y'all had money. Okay.
Right. So I'm like, well, I got to fit in. And so I just was doing all kind of things. Like I said, I started drinking like 15. I was smoking cigarettes at 15. Having sex at 16. I'm just like, what is happening? Like, what am I doing? And it was probably all of me trying to fit in, which is sad to say today, but that's definitely what it was.
You was a kid, though, you know?
Yeah, I know. And you sit back and think about the stuff that you did as a kid. You're like, what was I thinking? Like, you know, playing chicken, driving down the road with open beer cans and my
I was doing the most.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, what was I thinking? But I did it all. You know, stealing my mom's car.
Okay, you was out there. You jumped off the porch, baby. But you survived it though.
Thank gosh, I did.
Yeah. But I mean, your story is not, you know, something that a lot of other people don't face. Like you talked a little bit about the sexual victimization and then wanting to protect the person. And a lot of people who go through like sexual assault or molestation, you know, they struggle so much. And I don't know if you still had to be subjected to your person who perpetrated against you, but like a lot of times, like, people are still forced to have those relationships, especially if it's somebody within the family. And so like being able to navigate that is just definitely really hard. So, I mean, I understand why you went through some of the things that you went through, because it's like you're trying to get to that place of healing. And you said you only told your mom when you were 32. It's like you didn't have anybody to help you navigate through it.
Right. It wasn't so much, I wasn't protecting him for him. I was protecting him from my parents because I know who my father is, and he probably wouldn't be walking today if I had told him. He'd probably be behind closed, you know, the brick city. And so I was protecting my parents more so him.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And it was my mother's brother-in-law at the time.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I trusted him. You know, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and it's so unfortunate, you know, because you want to be able to trust your kids around family members or in-laws and stuff like that. But it's just so much of that going on. I know we talk about it a little bit more than we did back, you know, during the 90s and, you know, during that time frame or whatever, but it still goes on, and kids are still afraid to speak up. Some adults, you know, go through sexual assault and are afraid to speak up. And so it's just a lot, that the guilt and shame that comes along with it. I've worked with a lot of girls in that age range or whatever, and it may not have been a in-law or whatever, but just like even date rape that we don't talk about as much as we used to, because it's kind of become so common. Things like SVU kind of make it not as like real when someone is experiencing it. And then shows like that also teach the person who is experiencing it, the victim of it, that no one's going to believe them or no one's going to do anything about it, and the guilt and shame that comes with it. So I appreciate you being vulnerable and kind of talking about, you know, your experience, and hoping that can help other people who may be going through that to know that you don't have to necessarily do it alone, but at the same time, you need to work through it in order to not continue to make impulsive decisions or lean into self-medication. So definitely appreciate your vulnerability there. So I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about your nonprofit and what you are going to be doing through this nonprofit to help other veteran women.
Well, I don't want to give too much because I don't want nobody to steal my idea.
Okay.
But I do want to give back to female veterans because there's not much. The VA is starting to do better with the resources and programs for female veterans. They are.
Okay. You ain't got to talk nice about the VA because it's me. I'm not at work and they ain't on the clock, so I don't care nothing about it. If we trash, say we trash. It's okay. You ain't got to sugarcoat it for me.
No, I get my money from the VA. I can't be dogging about over recording.
Okay, gotcha.
But they are getting better, though. I must say, I really truly appreciate when they started doing women's facility just for women. I love that when they did that. But however, they were supposedly had done one in Montgomery, Alabama, and I was like, okay, let me go check them out. And as soon as I went in there, I seen this dude. I'm like, what are you doing? You know, this is supposed to be for women care because, and I'm going off a little bit, but it's going to align to what I'm saying.
I got you.
So when I went to my first VA appointment when I got out of the military, I walked in, men and women, you know, whatever, we're family. And I felt so uncomfortable because I heard them, God, ooh, don't nobody want to hear that.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm here for my appointment. You have no idea why I'm here. You have no idea why I look so young and I'm a veteran. It could be multiple reasons why, because it is a lot of older veterans that's in, you know, their veteran is a veteran, whether I'm 19 or 99. And so that kind of gets frowned upon too when you see the younger veterans coming in. You got all the older veterans, you know, the Vietnam vets and whatnot. And so anyway, I said all that to say they eventually started implementing programs in the VA for specifically women veterans. Okay. And so I was excited about that. And so the problem is it's not that many women veteran providers. And so when it comes time to women care, and especially if you're dealing specifically with military sexual trauma victims, they're not going to get it done. And so here they are walking around with whatever health issues going on because they're not getting it attended to because they've been assaulted in the military by men. And then here's this guy doctor that you have over here saying, oh, well, by the way, let's do this. So all in all, I said all that to say my program, I want to have a fully operational facility for women by women, period. And that's it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to push for it. I've spoken with multiple people that already have some transitional housing, because particularly homeless female veterans. But I'm going to help all, but I want a facility where I can house as well. But the VA don't be wanting to give up no grant money. You know, I talked to one lady and she was like, she can't even get the money to help the female veterans. So I got to get out here and do the work. I got to figure out a way, and I'm going to do it. Yeah. I don't care how long it takes me. I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Well,
we need it.
Yeah, you definitely do. And I could definitely get where you're coming from in terms of wanting to create that experience that one, you didn't even get a chance to have, you know, as a female veteran going in and having a guy catcalling you because he ain't got no home training, but that's a whole different story. But I love the idea there. And I don't think anybody's going to steal your stuff. I think that
you better not.
Yes, if anything, it might be other women wanting to figure out how they can get involved and help out, you know.
I hope so.
Because that definitely is a great idea in terms of being able to push it forward. And then obviously, you know, you got the skill set, you get the doctorate to back it up and put that stamp on it or whatever. So I think, you know, with grants and, you know, even if you tailor it a different way and do, you know, business, whatever, this, that, and other, do it from a different standpoint, I think you'll still be able to kind of push yourself through. So I'm really excited. Definitely I could be following you over the years to see this manifest because I'm sure that, you know, it takes time to build anything great or whatever. It's not an overnight thing, but I just love the passion that you have for it and being able to, you know, to give back in that way.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You are welcome. So I know we kind of been talking about some self-aware and effed up stuff throughout this whole episode. So I'm still gonna throw this at you though. How do you, aside from kind of where we all have already kind of talked through, how do you connect with the idea of being self-aware and effed up?
Basically, at this point now, when you know better, you do better. And I feel that when I know something is not right, I'm like, yeah, girl, you know that ain't right. Pull back. And I'm aware of that now versus then. And effed up, I'm probably always going to be effed up. That's just who I am. And I don't care. It's who I am. I'm genuine. I'm transparent. I'm blunt. And that's just me. I mean, I like the fact that I am self-aware now, though. It makes my life easier. It makes me feel more at peace. And so I just tackle it head on.
Mm.
That's how I can answer that.
All right. You didn't cop out, so I'm glad that you gave me a real answer. Some people try to give me the whole therapy answer, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want all of that. We talking about real stuff. We all still have effed up parts of us. It doesn't matter how self-aware we become. We still gonna fuck up. That's the whole point of the show. It's like we can have all the education and training in the world. We come from the best backgrounds, and we can still make crazy decisions. That's just life, and it's okay as long as we don't give up and we keep working. So I definitely appreciate your authenticity with that. How can people connect with you?
So I am on Instagram, philosophizing _DR_ Angelika. That's me. And I need to make me a professional Instagram page, but that's a little bit of me in a nutshell. I got food on there. I got trips on there. So at least you'll know who I am firsthand if you go to my Instagram page. So just look me up.
Gotcha.
I might not accept you right away, but that's all right. I might keep your page out. So if it's private, you might not get through.
I respect that. Any website or any other way for people to connect for services or?
Well, I can't. So I work for a private group practice, so they have to call my admin. So yeah, that it would be great. But if they do want to come see me, if y'all are in the state of Georgia, I work for Rivertown Counseling Group. So if y'all want to, Rivertown Psychotherapy. Sorry, I don't even know who I work for. I do service the whole state of Georgia. So you just have to call our primary office and they can get you in with me.
I got you. I have a follow-up question after the show, but I'll get with you on that. But definitely thank you so much for sharing your time. You guys, please make sure that you connect with Angelika on Instagram. And if you are interested in seeing her, check out Rivertown Psychiatry. Also, be sure to follow me, Treaty LPC, on all social media platforms under the handle Treaty LPC. Until next time, be safe, be well, and make sure that you take care of your mental health.